In this video, I'm going to introduce to you how you will edit tutorials and video interviews in the future. This is Descript, software that's nothing short of a video revolution. It's how all video narrative editing apps will evolve in the future. In a nutshell, Descript is a platform that will allow you to record and edit narrative videos as you would a text document, like a Word document, just by cutting out words and phrases. And wait for it, it will even let you add words or phrases in a voice that's generated from your original voice. The voice narrative recorded in the video is transcribed into text and it's edited like a Word document. You just cut out words, copy and paste, and the edit shows up in the video timeline. So just edit the transcript and it will edit the video and the audio for you. The gaps between words are sensed and can be automatically eliminated. In fact, the way that Descript works is that it looks at words rather than waveforms. Ums and ahs could also be automatically eliminated. And add to all of that, there's a screen recorder, and the video editor can add titles and graphics and even the ability to pan and zoom. And then you can export the footage into Final Cut for final edit. In this review, I'll cover an overview of Descript using the footage from one of my recent tutorials. It'll show how superfluous words can be removed without having to play back and forwards in the video to find the good bits or the bad bits. And we'll simply add words to the transcription using my generated voice so you can compare it to the original voice. In Final Cut, I'll show you how to reduce the jump cuts that may be created. And of course, you could complete your edit in Descript and send it directly to YouTube or any other social media or your web page. I'm Bruce McBride and I can provide one-on-one personal tuition. Just click the link below. And if you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe and press the bell. Let's look at creating a project and organizing that project in the browser, which is your main interface in Descript. So we'll open the project browser, selecting it in the file menu. If we look at the top here, we can see here are all of our projects. All projects are backed up to the cloud with unlimited storage. The material backed up to Descript servers is in a drive, and you can have a number of drives, but for this exercise, let's just have one drive and we'll call it Bruce's drive. This is available here when we select on the projects. We're going to create a new folder and we're going to call that Review. And you'll see the relevance of this in a moment. Now we're going to create a new project and we're going to put that new project into Review. So we'll call the new project Tutorial and create that project, and that will now open a composition. We can title that composition by typing it in as the header, part 1, and you can add more compositions as you want to. The composition is where you will drag or drop your audio, or you will be able to record directly there. So let's look at the terminology that we've just used, and we'll think of it in the terms of Final Cut. The drive is in fact the same as a Final Cut library. The folder that we created and called Review, that's the same as a Final Cut folder. The project, that's the tutorial, is in fact the same as a Final Cut event. And the composition is what Final Cut would call a project. There's an important keyboard command to remember, and that's Command 0. It brings up your project browser. Also important is Command K, which brings up what Descript calls the conductor. Now this can also be accessed from the light bulb, and you can virtually type in anything here and it will find it for you. We'll look at remove filler words and shorten gaps at a little later. So if you now look at the top of the sidebar, you can see the media library. If you look inside there, it's empty. So let's drag something in there, and I'll drag a tutorial with a voiceover. Now that that's been added to the composition, we can ask for that to be transcribed. You'll notice that it's being saved to the cloud, and you can see the transcription is going to take a few minutes. It's only a short video, so it will be fairly quick. And there's our transcription, and we have a timeline down here, and you can see the cursor is moving through the text in the transcription. And by selecting in the text and pressing the tab key, then it will start playing. You can see this word here, with, and there's the word there. We could also see correction. So if I click the cursor here, you can see that it comes to correction there. We can cut this out here by simply deleting it, and then that's cut out of the timeline, and you can see that the edit point has been put in there. If we wanted to bring that back again, then you can drag through and it will come back in, and you can see it's come back here in the text. And you can simply edit your video by selecting the text and deleting it. And as you'll see later, we can actually add our voice in as an overdub and add text that wasn't in the original recording. I brought in the tutorial that I'm recording for Descript, and I'm going to quickly edit that now, and I'll show you how that fits into Final Cut. If we click on a spot in the text and press the tab key, so if you now look at the top of the sidebar, you can see the media library. If you look inside there, it's empty. So let's drag something in there. Now I'm looking up there and I see that the whole of that first paragraph is unwanted. So I can select on that and simply press the delete key, and it's gone. And now we'll play from here. And now that has been added to the composition, and again, I can see without listening to it all that there's a whole lot of bump there too. And in fact, so I don't need to start until this point here. So I can select all of that and again delete it without having to play through it. Now that that's been added to the composition, we can ask for that to be transcribed. You'll notice that it's being saved to the cloud because everything is saved to the cloud and you have unlimited storage. And everything is saved to the cloud. And again, we don't need that. So that can be deleted. And if I wanted to at any time, I could simply grab some text here and copy it and then paste that in there. And if I want to undo anything, I just simply press Command Z, change everything back again, and this is where we were originally starting. If we look in the timeline, we can see that the waveform is broken up into words. And this is something that's quite unique to this application. So you're not trying to cut the waveforms, you're actually cutting words. So if I were to click in here and drag, I can join those two words together and in fact reduce that gap and do the same here. And talking about gaps, if we come up to the conductor and type in the word, we can see we can shorten the gaps, and let's say we want to shorten everything under 0.4 of a second, and we'll cut those gaps to a 0.2 of a second gap and apply to all, and you can see that it's shortened 54 gaps. Now each of those will be a separate edit, and when we play this, pressing the tab key. Now that that's been added to the composition, we can ask for that to be transcribed. You'll notice that it's being saved to the cloud because everything is saved to the cloud and you have unlimited storage. So what you'll notice is the whole thing is much more punchy now. If I play it again. Now that that's been added to the composition, we can ask for that to be transcribed. And press the tab to stop that again. I can see that there's a fairly large gap in here and I can delete that. You can also go to the conductor and I'll type in word again, and we can remove filler words, and you'll see that it's picked up a couple there. I can either delete them or ignore them, and if you ignore them, what it does is it simply puts a line through so that they're still there visually, but they're not spoken. So if I press the tab now that's been added to the composition, we can ask for that to be. It looked at this grammatically and said, now that that's been added, and so it's taken it out. Let's assume that the whole edit has been completed and I want to now send this to Final Cut. We go to the share up here and select export, and you can see Final Cut is there, and we want to make an XML, and it will also include the original media. So if I export now and the session's completed, it was that quick, press open now and you can see there it is ready to go into Final Cut. So now I'm in Final Cut, and if I come up to import and select XML, and there is the XML, and here is the file that it's included with it as well. So if I select the XML and import that, it's now in Final Cut and it's opened its own event. You can see that not only has it brought in all of the edit, it's also brought in the script as well. Now that's been added to the composition, we can ask for that to be transcribed. And if you don't want to have those, you can select them and disable. And if you want to, you can add transitions to that. In this case, the edits are not that noticeable because it's a screen recording, but I'll do another transcript with a face-to-camera video, and we'll see how we can repair the jump cuts with that. Now we know about compositions, let's have a look at the screen recording feature. You'll need, first of all, to give access to your camera, microphone, and disk access. And this is under the security and privacy. And you will be directed to these locations. You'll see that Descript shows here, and you'll need to tick the little blue box. Also for the microphone as well as screen recording. Once you've given that access, then you can come to the menu bar and you'll see the Descript icon in the menu bar. And this will allow you to set up your recording. You can enable a camera, you can look at your different microphones, and these at the bottom are previous recordings that you've made. Now you can press the screen recording and select the part of the screen that you want to record. It's now recording. So we can select Final Cut here. We can look at various parts of the screen, timeline, go to the inspector, and continue with the tutorial. Once you've finished your screen recording, you can press the stop button. The link to the screen recording is copied to the clipboard automatically, and a preview box is displayed in the lower right corner of the screen. When we go back now to Descript, we can select a new composition and simply paste in that recording, and from there you can edit it as we've done before. Now let's have a quick look at the pan and the zoom features so we can see a bit more of the video. If we select on this divider here, you can drag so you can see more of the actual video itself. And what I want to do is to zoom into this video and also then pan up and down. So let's use the conductor and we'll type in here zoom, and we can see you can pan and zoom. And once you've selected that, you can see it's put in a sample zoom. You have two keyframe positions over here in the inspector area. Keyframe 1 is the starting point and keyframe 2 is the ending point. So what we want to do with this one is to increase the amount of zoom in so that when we play it now, it's now zoom right in. And once I've zoomed in there, I want to pan so I can see the top of the text. So by right clicking here, I can enter a new cue. And we'll enter a pan and zoom. And with this one, I want to change the second part, that's the second frame, and I want to move to the top of the text. And then perhaps move to the left so we can see the beginning of the text. Now when we play the total through, it's now recording and then pans to that location. Next, I'll show you an interview with two people so that you can see how it selects those people as the narrators. And finally, as I promised, I'll look at the tutorial where I have a face to camera and you can see how those jump cuts can be fixed in Final Cut. And now we'll look at an interview with three different people and we'll see how Descript separates those three different narrators. So first of all, I'm going to set a new composition and we'll call that interview. And I'm going to drag in the interview. And immediately it starts uploading and we can transcribe that. But notice here we can detect speakers and we'll tell it the number of speakers that we have and ask it to transcribe that. That's transcribed it, that did that in real time. Now we can go and identify the speakers. Now it will play a portion from each of the speakers.
Yeah. So I just didn't know their names, but it makes sense.
So we'll call that Bob. Add Bob.
Probably it's a good idea that we can get screen shared so we can see it.
I'll call that Bruce.
If you could start with the basics and kind of like your...
And we'll call that John. And add John. And now close that and you can see how it's labelled those different people. So if we start to play from here.
If you could start with the basics and kind of like your...
Probably it's a good idea that we can get...
And you can see those three speakers are colour coded down here so that we look and Bob pops up at the end. We've got Bruce in the orange and John in the turquoisey colour. You could just edit that as we've seen earlier. So let's have a look at the overdub feature. I'm going to add an extra sentence in this point with my generated voice. So moving up to the conductor and we'll type in overdub and we can insert an overdub and then type those words in there and you can see that it's generating that overdub. And then when we play from this position, press the tab key. We can also add some extra words here using my generated voice. And you can see that that's similar to my voice, but not exactly the same. And to be fair to Descript, it did ask me for a 30-minute duration to check my voice, and I only did 10 minutes. So that could be improved, I'm sure. I've created a new composition and called that face-to-face and imported a short face-to-face interview. The big feature here is I can do the edit in the text without actually looking at the video. And I can see that the first sentence is fine. And what I'm wanting to do here is to actually just keep this portion here and delete the rest. After the unwanted text is cut out, then we can look at the video directly by clicking on here in the workspaces and selecting hide script. And then we can play the total video from the beginning. In this video, I'm going to introduce to you how you will edit tutorials and video interviews in the future. This is Descript, software that's nothing short of a video revolution. It's how all video narrative editing apps will evolve in the future. Now let's put that into Final Cut and we'll fix those jump cuts. So we go to Share, Export, Final Cut, include the XML and export. In Final Cut we'll import the XML and it's created its own event and project, and once it's in the timeline you can see that the subtitles are showing in the video. So for the moment we're going to hide those and I'll simply turn those captions off and then close the index again. Now if we look in the video, we can see the jump cuts there and there's a jump cut here. This one looks video revolution. So we probably don't need to actually do anything with video revolution. It doesn't actually jump, but in this situation here it does. So let's just zoom into that with Command plus and you'll notice that there are two edit points there. What we can do is we can bring a flow into this one and we'll just shorten that a little bit again. And we're not going to hide the jump between this one and this one here. What we will do is that we will select this one, and now with the option key down, we're going to change the angle of that camera a little. And we'll do it also for this one as well. So we'll copy the first one and paste the attributes in here. And we don't want the audio changed. And so that when we play this through now, this is Descript, software that's nothing short of a video revolution. It's how... What I'd like is the change in angle to happen at these words here. So I just zoom out a little bit. And with the T key, I can change to trim and drag that edit point down to these words here. So let's play the whole thing through now. We'll press the home key. In this video, I'm going to introduce to you how you will edit tutorials and video interviews in the future. This is Descript, software that's nothing short of a video revolution. It's how all video narrative editing apps will evolve in the future. So what we've seen in this video is an overview of Descript, how you can simply edit your video by editing the text itself. And then we've used that partially edited video from Descript and we've brought it into Final Cut. We've hidden some jump cuts, and then we can add our extra things that we want to, like color correction or audio correction. And then once completed in Final Cut, it can be sent to its final destination. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and press the bell.